Rangers in total meltdown, Russell Martin clinging to his job by a thread after a European humiliation for the ages. 6-0 in Belgium, the worst in modern history. Now, with the clock ticking down to the Old Firm, 2 elite managers are circling as replacements, while Barry Ferguson's name outrageously re-enters the frame. Transfer chaos explodes as Chris Mepham snubs Ibrox for West Brom, leaving Rangers scrambling for a defensive saviour. And just when it seemed the attack was out of ideas, Bojan Miovski is handed the green light, but only if Rangers meet his bold demand for a permanent deal. It's drama, it's crisis, it's Ibrox on fire, and you need to see every second. You're no daft, you know what you watched. And if you had to endure every grim minute of that shambles in Belgium, then I'm right there with you. 6-0. Yes, 6 goals past Rangers without reply. Out of the Champions League before the group stage has even been sniffed. The final nail? It might already be hammered in for Russell Martin. Just 12 weeks into his reign at Ibrox, and the man looks like he's already halfway out the door. It wasn't just the scoreline, although 9-1 on aggregate is as humiliating as it gets. It was the collapse, the utter collapse. Max Aarons off after just 8 minutes for a daft red card. Nasser Giga wandering around like he's lost in Brayhead shopping centre. Defenders sleeping, no leadership, no fight, no plan. You've seen it with your own eyes. Club Brugge were cruising. They were laughing. They scored 5 in the first half and eased off after the break. If not for Jack Butland, the scoreline could have hit double figures. And let's be clear, Butland was the only Rangers player who came out of that disaster with any shred of credibility. He was saving shots his teammates had no business letting through in the first place. Now, here's where it gets really grim. Russell Martin, the board's golden experiment, hasn't beaten a single Scottish side above League One. Just 3 wins in 10 games, 17 goals conceded, already out of Europe. And who's waiting next? A visit from that mob across the city. Celtic at Ibrox. The timing couldn't be worse if you scripted it in a nightmare. Ali McCoist himself didn't mince words, called Giga a joke at the back, highlighted the sheer lack of communication. Aaron's out there like he forgot what shirt he's wearing. This is Rangers, not some mid-table English side trying to keep things tidy. You can't hide behind statistics and possession percentages here. You're judged on fight, trophies, and beating Celtic. You know what's most embarrassing? If Martin is binned today, he'll leave as the shortest-serving permanent manager in Rangers history. Just 83 days less than Pedro Caixinha, and that says it all. The board spent big. Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers enterprises pumped millions into this club. But if this is the result, you're left wondering who scouted these players, who greenlit Aarons and Giga, and why was Nobel Mendy's deal allowed to collapse when it was painfully obvious we needed steel at the back. If Russell Martin had any shame left, he'd be clearing his desk before the team bus even gets back to Ibrox. That debacle in Belgium wasn't a one-off. It was the final proof that this man is completely out of his depth, and now you've got two proper options staring you right in the face, Marco Rose and Danny Rohl. Let's stop pretending Martin's some misunderstood genius. You've watched the matches, you've seen the interviews, you've heard the excuses. Now we're heading into an old firm with zero belief, a dressing room in disarray, and a manager who's just presided over the worst European collapse in the club's modern history. This isn't about giving someone time. This is about survival, about pride, about ambition. The Rangers board, flush with the money of Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers enterprises, can't let this slide. Not with the season already teetering, not with Celtic looming. Here's the good news. You don't have to look far for proper replacements. Marco Rose, out of work, no compensation fee, Champions League experience, Bundesliga silverware with Leipzig, and already tied in with Rangers' new power brokers through his Red Bull connections to Leeds United. It makes so much sense, it almost feels too obvious for this board to get right. Then there's Danny Rohl, younger, maybe a bigger gamble, but with fresh ideas, elite-level coaching pedigree, and still licking his wounds after walking from Sheffield Wednesday. He's hungry, and crucially, he's available. And what are we hearing instead? Talk of Barry Ferguson again. Don't get me wrong, Barry's a club legend and he bleeds blue. But this isn't about sentiment, it's about stopping Celtic from waltzing to another title while Rangers stare at another wasted season. You've got Marco Rose and Danny Rohl, both unemployed, both proven, both capable of organizing a defense and dragging Rangers back from this mess. And yet the board sits quiet while Martin's team leaks goals like a burst pipe in Govan Hill. It's time to act, because if you let Martin walk out at Ibrox this Sunday, he won't just lose a football match, he'll lose the soul of the support. If the board picked Barry Ferguson over Marco Rose or Danny Rohl, is that ambition or is it pure laziness hiding behind nostalgia? If you're still wondering where the goals are coming from this season, you're not alone, and clearly neither is Russell Martin. But now, finally, a move that might actually make some sense. Bojan Majowski wants the deal, Girona have opened the door, and Rangers are in. Let's be clear, this isn't some panic buy plucked from obscurity. You know what Majowski did in Scotland. He terrorized defenses in an Aberdeen shirt, 44 goals in 98 appearances, 26 last season alone. He wasn't just scoring tap-ins either. He was dragging centre-backs out of position, stretching lines and dropping deep to link play like a proper modern nine. Now he's rotting on the bench in Spain. Girona have made it crystal clear he's not part of their plans. He wants out, but not on loan. No, Majowski's made it known, loud and clear, it's permanent deal or nothing. And honestly, that's the attitude Rangers need, and no passengers, no short-term fixes, players who want to be at Ibrox and who understand what's at stake. With Hamza Igamane heading off to Lille for over £10 million and Dessers now a target for Panathinaikos, the striking department is paper thin. Danilo, 1 goal in 9 matches, and don't even get started on how ineffective he's looked leading the line. You can't blame it all on him. There's no system, no rhythm, no support, but this team needs a proper focal point, and Majowski could be exactly that. He's not just a goal poacher. His movement creates space that could finally free up Gassama and Ant-Man to do what they're supposed to, run at defenders and make things happen. If Martin has any hope of implementing the kind of high-pressing, fluid front three he dreams about, Majowski is the kind of striker who makes that viable. But here's the concern. Rangers have work to do to close the deal. And with the transfer window slamming shut on Monday, you've got to ask, why is it taking this long? If the club truly believes Majowski is the solution, then throw the money down and get it done. No dithering, no lowballing, no waiting until Celtic are 12 points clear before we start acting serious. Is bringing Majowski back to Scotland the ambition of a club chasing the title, or are we just hoping lightning strikes twice with a player who's already shown what he can do because the scouting has failed yet again? The way this summer window's been going, you'd think Rangers were trying to collect defenders for a 5-a-side league in Pollock rather than challenge Celtic for the title. And now another name's been and gone. Chris Mepham linked heavily, medical booked, but not for Ibrox. He's off to West Brom. Another one slips through the net. Look, let's be honest, you probably weren't bouncing off the walls at the mention of Mepham's name. He's not exactly prime Goff, is he? But when you've watched Giga stumbling around like a lost tourist and Aaron's seeing red quicker than a Glaswegian in traffic, even functional feels like a step forward. But here's where it gets interesting. There's noise now suggesting Rangers were never in for Mepham in the first place. Stevie Clifford even shot that down. But if that's true, Why not? Because when you dig into the numbers, when you look at the championship stats, top 20% for passing, progressive carries, take-ons, he's the kind of composed, modern centre-half Martin keeps babbling on about. Calm on the ball, decent in a high line, rarely booked. Oh, and he's got a bit of leadership about him too. You can't tell me this squad wouldn't benefit from someone who knows how to open his mouth and marshal a defense. You've got a broken backline, a manager under siege, a fan base on edge, and a transfer deadline ticking louder than the Copland drum. West Brom are finishing Mepham's medical. Now, there are arguments against him: inconsistent, not a dominant aerial presence, not Premier League standard for Bournemouth. Fine, but the brutal truth is this: Rangers need better than Giga, better than Sutar's form, and better than throwing another inexperienced loanee into the fire. You've got funds coming in from the likely sale of Hamza Igamane over £10 million. Use it. Get a proper defender in. Don't just talk about ambition, show it. Because if Martin's still here past Sunday and he's still relying on Giga and Aarons to hold the line against Celtic, then this isn't a rebuild, it's a demolition. Is Rangers missing out on Chris Mepham a sign of ambition, knowing he's not good enough, or pure incompetence when we're leaking goals like a sieve and signing no one? Comment below what you think about the news. Don't forget to leave a like on the video to help me out. I post videos every day talking about our Rangers, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on the latest news. See you soon.